Hi, I'm Michael Edwards from the Parsons The New School for Design. I'm a graduate of the program, a Master's of Fine Arts in Design and Technology, and I refused to leave, so they made me a researcher, and they gave me more things to do. So I want to talk to you today about research and play in two senses. One, in the sense of playing a game. I work with games a lot. And also in the sense of playing with things in front of you, being able to explore them, manipulate them, and see what happens when you mush them together. So this is one of our projects. This is Small Lab. I work with Katie Salen of the Institute of Play and David Birchfield of Arizona State University. And it's an environment where the students can control these objects. So this girl has a paddle in her hand, and they're motion captured, and they help manipulate the projection underneath them. So right now she's playing this raft game we made where she's using the paddle to row down this virtual river. It's fun. There's sharks and gold and stuff. It's really cool. But we try to teach serious things in Small Lab. So this is an example of a game we made recently about fractions. And it's a collaborative game where the students can work together to create the common denominators for fractions that they're trying to add together. So they can get in a space together here. So we work very closely with teachers. And the kids are having problems with trying to understand how you can make a common denominator from different fractions, how you add 1/3 and 1/4. So they can get here and they can stand up in two teams against each other, and they can work out the common denominators, and they get to mash the fractions together. And they can use the space, and they can use collaboration, and they can use the scale of the area to learn fractions, to learn what they're studying anyway, but outside of the desks and the books and the pencils, which maybe they're not very good at. And some of the students afterwards said that they never really liked fractions before, but they suddenly understood it. And it's just a different way of approaching things in a playful kind of way instead of just writing with your pen and paper. So here's another game we made. This one was for sort of a light and optics curriculum. And we use this to help them understand how to mix red, green, and blue light, which is really essential if you're a designer. So each of 3 students controls one color. So one controls blue, green, and red. And if they're all trying to make white, then everyone stands up at once, and they make white. And if they're trying to make black, then everyone sits down at once, and they make black. And if they're trying to make cyan here, then the green and the blue student stand up, and the red student stands down. And it's really fun, exciting. They're all screaming whatever, but they also pick up the concepts really quickly and in a playful kind of way. And we really enjoy watching students learn this way in this big sort of a collaborative, fun, spatial environment. So another thing we've been doing recently is looking at how we can combine play and data. And not necessarily data visualization, but data ludification from the Latin root for play. So here's the data visualization by one of our students in the program, Hiromi Suguye, who made this wonderful diagram of the traditional colors in a Japanese kimono and the natural ingredients that go into making these colors. We thought this was great, but wondering if there's a way we can make a game to help people sort of understand this in a different kind of way. So what we came up with was a kind of a fishing game where you take an ingredient, say rice or what have you, and you drop the ingredient into this pond of these swimming colors. And when you drop the right ingredient in, then the colors that are made from that ingredient start swimming toward it. And over time, as you play the game, you get the same data that you would from the visualization, but you would play it in a sort of experiential way and begin to understand the data in a different kind of way, but you're still getting the same information to you. So it's a ludification. Now, this whole idea of data play, this expanding understanding of data with play, got a big boost when the Wildlife Conservation Society came to us. And they've been working on this thing called the Mannahatta Project for 10 years. And it's an amazing project. What they've done is they've looked at the whole island of Manhattan 400 years ago, before the arrival of the Europeans, and figured out all of the ecological relationships on the island on every single block. So you can go to any single block and you know exactly what was there, what ate what was water for what was shelter for what. It's absolutely amazing. And they came up with this enormous kind of diagram. They call it a mirror web. And it shows all the relationships in this very sort of top-down way. We thought this was really beautiful and amazing, but it just shows that it's complex, which is something we kind of already know. We wanted to know what it would be like if you could see this data from the bottom up, if you can play with it in your own neighborhood. So we came up with an iPhone game that examined these relationships. And so you can go to your own block here, for example, and you can say, okay, what was here 400 years ago before the Europeans arrived? Was it a salt marsh? Was it a rocky cliff? Was it a stream? And you can begin to explore what was there. So here's a screen from one player named Bison. One of the things that Bison discovered was that there was a plant called a grassy arrowhead, and it's a member of this group of aquatic plants. And you can do this on demand, basically, whenever you arrive in your neighborhood. And you can begin to sort of expand your understanding of the data that's in this gigantic mirror web put together by the Wildlife Conservation Society, but in a way that it's more immediate to you and makes sense at the level of the place where you live. So this is something we're working on with students in Manhattan as well. So this is play in the sense of games. Now, there's also the play in the sense of being able to manipulate what's in front of you to see what comes out of it. This is one of my early experiments when I joined the program. In our fashionable technology class, I just read a research paper on appropriate places to put wearable computer devices. I thought it was interesting, but it didn't really read with me because I'm a maker kind of person, and I wanted to see what it was like. So I put on a whole bunch of athletic pads, and I wandered around the city for a day or so, and just tried to figure out what was uncomfortable, what was weird, what was strange, and there was just a little design experiment that I performed for myself, whether the forearm worked best. This is another sort of strange intervention. I made my own heart rate monitor just to see what a heart rate monitor would do. And I thought, well, what does this mean, actually? So I put it into this funky kind of, it's actually a pendant earring, and it hooks right there in my ear. And I walked around with it for a day, exposing my heartbeat to the world. And it turned out to be very uncomfortable in many senses. But it was a good sort of thing to do, just to make stuff and see what comes out of it. Now, this actually has really serious implications for a lot of what we do. And this is getting into my thesis project. This is the records room in the pediatric wing of Kamuzu Central Hospital in Malawi, in the Lilongwe. And they have a very difficult time maintaining paper records because they're chronically understaffed and they have serious resource constraints. Fortunately, a group of people who work there called Baobab Health have constructed these amazing touchscreen devices that back up all the patient data to a central database. They're very efficient, they're very sturdy, and they also have these folders and barcodes that map all the patient registration information, all the patient record information. Here we see Rashid entering X-ray data from the barcoded folder down there on the right. So they have all this great stuff, all these great tools that sort of help out with the situation. So I was fortunate enough to work with them for my thesis project. And one of the things I wondered was, well, what can I do here to help these people? And so I looked at one of the measures for malnutrition, one of the proxies, is the middle upper arm circumference, which measures the circumference around the bicep and determines how severely malnourished a patient is. And so I looked at this as an important feature of patient intake at the hospital. And so I looked at it and said, look, well, we've got barcode scanners, we have paper, we have printers, we have these devices. What can we do to help bring this information in a way that's not going to get wound up in the paper records and get lost? So I made this band, and it uses these barcodes, this UPC barcodes that you have at the supermarket, at 2 millimeter increments. That each record the circumference of the band, and the part that shows up in the window here, is the measure of a person's arm. So when you put that around someone's arm, you can scan it with just a regular barcode scanner. That circumference is recorded, it's put into the database, it's recorded accurately, there's no transcription error, it's never lost, it's not going to get lost in the paper rot or anything else like that. And we tried it with graduate students, untrained, and they had a much better time being able to record it, and they're much faster recording it than with a traditional paper band. So it actually was a really effective intervention. But it worked out for us because we were sort of playing with just the materials we had in front of us, because it can be used in the hospital with the devices they have, with the scanners they have, with the paper and the ink, and just cutting things out and making new stuff just based on what they already have got there. And we wrote a bit of software and put it into the patient intake system, and it worked. So just being able to play with the elements in front of us produced this really interesting sort of design experience. So I take play very seriously. It's part of my research, it's part of what I do. These are serious subjects, but play has become a really important part of the designs that I make and the design process that I participate in. So I hope you enjoy being playful too.